will go up next year.
The federal government is not allowed to print money. It's not allowed to lend money or get in the banking business. That is a privilege for bankers only. So what the government has to do if they want to build an air force, say, of 2,000 planes a month, they have to borrow money from a private lending institution, sign the dotted line, and if the war is lost or failed, the burden falls on the public to pay off that debt.
We find ourselves in our social constructs in a transitional state, a matter of social evolution. If we want to make it through these turbulent times, we must be able to adapt to change. All things change, including our social systems. Albert Einstein stated, "We cannot solve problems by using the same kind of thinking we used when we created them." Earth is still abundant with resources. Our practice of rationing resources through monetary control is no longer relevant and is actually counterproductive to our very survival. Today, we have highly advanced technologies, but our social and economic system has not kept up with our technological capabilities, which could otherwise easily create a world of abundance for all, free of servitude and debt. How can this be possible? There is not enough money to feed or house all people on this planet, let alone accomplish these more ambitious ends. But Earth has more than enough resources to meet the needs of all people, but only if managed intelligently. Jacques Fresco envisions a solution that he calls a resource-based economy. It is a socio-economic system in which all goods and services are available to everyone, without the use of money, barter, credit, debt, or servitude of any kind. It is unlike any social system that has gone before. Fresco arrived at this direction through 75 years of study and experimental research.
A resource-based economy operates on the basis of available resources and makes those resources available to every human being on Earth, free of charge, without a price tag. So we have today more than enough resources to build a far more advanced society. I'm not talking about limited handouts so that people just get by. I'm talking about a very advanced civilization. We have the resources, we have the technology, all we have to do is apply it.
One of the main aspects of the Venus Project is to eliminate scarcity. This is where the technology comes into play. Because if we set up a resource-based economy and some things are scarce, it won't work. If you set up a resource-based economy in a society that has no resources, it won't work. So today with our technology, we can make things available. We can eliminate scarcity. We can create an abundance. As long as we can create that abundance, that will eliminate greed and selfishness and a lot of crime and a lot of aberrant behavior.
A social system can be designed so that all can live fully and constructively if the powers of science and technology are directed toward human and environmental concern and overcoming the artificial scarcities of our debt-based monetary systems. All people, regardless of political philosophy, social customs, or religious differences, ultimately depend upon the same resources: clean air and water, arable land, medical care, and a relevant education.
I think if you pledge allegiance to the earth and everyone on it, that'd be the way to go for the future.
The human species is a single family, and the world is home to everyone. neither nations nor people can coexist separately any longer.
No more separate nations. So anyone can go anywhere. Before the states joined together, they used to stake out their territory. They used to fight. They had militias. They would fight. This is our territory. Oh no, you're intruding. When all the states joined together, the government worked out the lines of the states and they agreed, and that was the end of territorial disputes. If you want the end of war, you must declare the earth common heritage.
This has nothing to do with those who want to form an elite world order with themselves and large corporations in control and the rest of the world subservient to them. On the contrary, a global resource-based economy enables all people to reach their highest potential, where they can thrive and grow in a society that works in their behalf, a society that protects and preserves the environment as well, one that understands that we are part of nature, not separate from it.
Some question what would happen to incentive if needs were met without our having to work to attain them. The question assumes humans have no desires beyond basic needs. If that were true, there would be no inventors, writers, or teachers. People work with passion on the things that interest and challenge them. Let's enable all people to have the opportunity to partake in the greatest challenge one can have, improving our world for everyone. Individuality will be emphasized rather than uniformity. This social arrangement will generate a new incentive system that values the protection of the environment and social concern, rather than the shallow, self-centered goals of wealth, property, and power.
It does not call for uniformity. It absolutely calls for diversity. The more diverse people are, the more individuality. So we emphasize individuality, creativity, innovativeness. This is the essentials of the design. It is not a group of scientists telling people what to do, how to live, where to go, what to follow.
Motivation and incentive exist when people have meaningful tasks. True growth and development occur when people are involved in creative, challenging, and constructive endeavors. However, motivation and incentive die in the daily grind of boring and repetitive jobs required to earn a paycheck.
If you hand out things to people, if you fed them and clothed them and housed them free, they're not going to work in the morning because they don't need it. They got their housing, clothing, motion pictures, and entertainment. Well, why go to work? Work is painful, it's monotonous, it's boring. In the future, if people have access to all their needs, but they don't have any challenges, this is where it goes to pot. So people constantly are challenged by new things. In our schools, we challenge them with many things that are not solved and many unresolved problems. If you're well fed and well clothed, that doesn't stop your brain from working. That would mean that every millionaire does nothing and is turned off because he got all the means. That's not true. There are many millionaires that work 18 hours a day and don't have enough time. It has to do with your background and your education. The more you know about oceanography, astronomy, and all that, the more interest, the more alive you are. And if you're just given food, clothing, and shelter, now you can go to work. You don't have to worry about making a living, which your incentive would be boosted considerably. So I call that a new and innovative incentive system. It's not monetary oriented, it's problem solving oriented. And you get your kicks out of seeing the world become a better place.
How can we use our technology wisely so that there is more than enough for everyone? To achieve this, it's mandatory that the planning for it be based on the carrying capacity of the planet's resources. Our entire infrastructure must be redesigned and operated as coherent, integrated total systems. This means we must consider our entire global community as one unit that includes everyone and plan accordingly. Only in this way can we use our technology to overcome resource shortages, provide universal abundance, and protect the environment. Therefore, a global survey is first needed to assess exactly what we have. This would inventory our physical resources, personnel, production centers, and the needs of people. This enables us to determine the amount of goods and services needed. For instance, where is the arable land to grow crops? How many people are in various locations? And what is the state of their health? This would determine where hospitals are built and how many.
If you try to do that today, ask for a global resource survey of all nations, they'd wonder, what are you trying to do that for? To find if we got enough resource to fight you in armaments and other things? They would be skeptical, hesitant to give that information. So I would say it wouldn't work in today's culture. But after the ideas are put forth and the reason for it and the advantages gained by all the nations, it would have to be specific advantages that they can understand in their terms. And if they agree, then the survey would be conducted. It's not my opinion or the opinion of anyone else would be used. It's the size of the population, the availability of resources, the carrying capacity of the earth that determines what is done and how fast things move. See, today it's done on a totally different basis. But in the future, it'll all be based on a form of dynamic equilibrium. That means operating everything at the highest potential without environmental neglect.
The key to achieving abundance and a high standard of living for all is to automate as much as possible in the shortest period of time.
But during the transition, we have to bring together the technological capabilities of people working with computers and working with technology and building and designing methods of delivering these resources and the necessary industrial plants to process the resources.
Our problems and their solutions are technical, not political. Most problems can be solved when technology and the methods of science are used to serve all people, not just a select few.
But what is it that you want? You have to ask yourself, I want to live in a world where I don't have to fear that my children will go into another war, where there'll be deprivation or problems or disease. Do you know how to build that kind of world? No, I don't. Well, how do you go about building? You call upon the various divisions of science, bring them together, and say, these are the problems we'd like to solve. A scientific government doesn't mean that scientists rule or control people. It means they have better means for building transportation systems, better means for cleaning the air. They have the best means for restoring the ocean that we know of to this day.
Computers can serve the needs of everyone when cybernation is ultimately integrated into all aspects of this new and dynamic culture. One can think of this as an electronic nervous system extending into all areas of the social complex. Their function would be to coordinate a balance between production and distribution, assuring there are no shortages or overruns.
In this highly technical society, decisions are based on direct environmental, human, and industrial feedback. You can think of this as electrical sensors throughout the entire environment, from cities, factories, warehouses, distribution centers, transportation networks, all over the globe, gathering data for more appropriate decisions. The decisions are based on the needs of society rather than corporate or private interests.
It is not automated technology or machines we should be wary of, but the abuse and misuse of technology by selfish interests. Remember, it is people who decide what ends the machines will serve. If technology does not liberate all people for the pursuit of higher aspirations in human achievement, then all its technological potential will be meaningless.
You always do a positive and negative study before you engage in the actual reconstruction of an environment.